All right, today we are diving deep into one of America's most chilling, most influential ghost stories, the BellWitch haunting. Now, this is a tale that goes way beyond just bumps in the night. So let's get into it and figure out what makes this legend so uniquely terrifying.
So, right off the bat, I want you to just think about this. When you picture a haunting, what comes to mind? You're probably thinking strange noises, maybe objects moving on their own, a shadow in the corner of your eye. But what if the entity was smarter? What if it was more malicious and a whole lot more powerful?
Because see, at its very core, this isn't really a story about some creepy old house. No, we're talking about the Bell family. They lived in Adams, Tennessee, way back in the early 1800s. Just a normal, hardworking family whose entire life was about to be taken apart, piece by piece, by a force they couldn't see and could never understand.
And that, right there, is what makes this legend so unsettling. It doesn't take place in some far-off Gothic castle. It's about a regular family in their own house, the one place in the world they should have felt safe. An unseen force just invades their lives and starts to systematically tear their world apart.
So the big question is, who or what was doing all this? Well, that's where the first truly terrifying layer of this story comes into play. The thing doing the tormenting, it had no physical form. It was completely 100% invisible.
And you can imagine, that's what made it so horrifying. There was nothing to fight back against. How do you run from something you can't even see? How can you possibly reason with a force that doesn't have a face? The Bell family was up against a power that was, well, everywhere and nowhere all at the same time.
But then, the haunting took a major turn. The entity, it evolved. It went from being the silent, invisible presence to something that could actually talk to them. The terror was about to find its voice.
Can you just imagine the absolute horror of that moment? You've been dealing with weeks of strange sounds and physical stuff happening, and then, all of a sudden, a clear voice with no body attached to it fills the room. And it wasn't some spooky whisper or a moan. No, this was an intelligent being making its presence known.
This changed everything. The haunting became personal. It became psychological. The entity could now taunt them, curse at them, even get into arguments with the family. It wasn't just some random presence anymore. It was a personality, and a deeply cruel one at that.
But the torment didn't just stop with words. As if that wasn't bad enough, the entity was about to escalate things from psychological warfare to straight-up physical violence. I mean, you have to appreciate this. The family was basically fighting a war on two fronts. On one hand, you have the constant mental drain of this voice mocking you from the shadows. And on the other, you have the very real pain of being slapped, scratched, and shoved by a force you can't even see.
So you can see the progression here, and it is terrifying. It starts with your classic haunting activity, right? Weird noises. Then it levels up to intelligent, verbal harassment. And finally, it crosses the ultimate line into actually hurting people. This wasn't random. It felt planned. It was a deliberate, calculated escalation of terror.
But there was one more power that this entity claimed to have. A power that takes this story from a violent haunting to a tale of absolute, inescapable, fatalistic dread.
This was it. This was the entity's endgame. After all the torment, the verbal abuse, the physical attacks, it was ready to reveal its most horrifying ability of all.
See, this wasn't just about random violence or cruelty anymore. The entity showed an intelligence that claimed it could see the future, specifically one very dark, singular prediction.
And here we have the chilling climax. The BellWitch entity didn't just threaten death, it claimed it had the power to predict it. It foretold that a member of the family was going to die. It essentially put a death curse on them, turning their terror into a constant, agonizing death watch.
So, when you step back and look at it, why has this story terrified people for literally generations? It's not any one single thing. It's this unique, horrifying combination of terrors. Think about it. An enemy you can't see, a voice that can talk right to you, a force that can physically hurt you, and, to top it all off, a prophet that claims to know the exact moment of your death.
At the end of the day, the BellWitch legend is so much more than a simple ghost story. It's a story about a total assault, psychological, physical, and, existential.
It didn't just target the family's sanity or their safety, it went after their very lives.
So that really leaves us with this final thought. What's the most terrifying part of this for you? Is it the idea of an invisible attacker you can't possibly fight back against? The horror of a voice with no body that knows all your secrets? Or is it that inescapable dread of a curse that predicts your own death? That combination, that's exactly why the BellWitch is still one of America's greatest and scariest ghost stories.